So just hit record on. And here we go. So we're on to day 4 of our Power Circle Challenge for January 2020, where our theme this time around has been connectivity. And I've got the pleasure of connecting with some amazing powerhouses here this morning live. And I wanted to share some gratitude with Tina Overbury, definitely a fire dancer alongside me and my team, and also our co-facilitator for today. We are talking about listening in terms of how listening relates to connectivity, and specifically listening to get ready. And I couldn't think of a better person to have the conversation with. Tina, I'll let her extend on this, but for those of you who don't know Tina, she is a core story specialist. She expands the ministry of story, and probably one of the best deep listeners I know, that's for sure. Tina, good morning to you.
Good morning to you. It's such a pleasure to be here, and it couldn't be timed any better because in my life practice, which we're going to go into a little bit today, but in my life practice, my mornings start with listening. And so we're actually right in the space where I do that. I'm right by my fire. I'm right by like all the elements, my fire, my ocean, my earth. It's all here, and you're right in my little sacred circle. It's perfect.
Cool. We've parachuted in. There's a quote that I'd like to just open it up to, and then I'm going to give some context as to why we've actually chosen this to be an important part of the Power Circle. The quote is by Roy Bennett. And it just says, listen with curiosity, speak honestly, speak with honesty, and act with integrity. But isn't that, in its simplicity, isn't that leadership? Right? First of all, it's listen. It's listen. But listen with curiosity. Speak with honesty to yourself, and also honesty to those you're speaking with, and then finally act with integrity. Love that. Just love it. So I just have a little tiny bit of feedback. I'm just double checking. There we go. I think that should help. Okay. I think on a deep human level, just before I kind of pass it off to Tina to kind of give us some context for today's conversation, I think on a deep human level, humans are craving to be heard. They're craving it. Think about it. The first thing that we do when we arrive in this lifetime is cry out. And in my experience, people are just craving to be heard, and to be heard fully. And so we're talking today about deep listening and how to open up more to that as women leaders, because I think it's naturally there. We just need to turn it up, which has kind of been a theme this whole week. So Tina, I'm going to pass it over to you to just give us some context, and then we'll dig in a little further.
Perfect. Great. Thank you. Well, first off, let's just, I want to give you a sense of why listening matters, because I think we take it for granted. We're like, I'm listening, I hear, oh yeah, I'm dialed into the room, I know what the room needs. And while that is true, that's one layer of it. I think of listening as a fuel source, which is a lot of our focus right now. It's January, and we're looking at How do I keep my body strong? How do I keep my mind strong? How do I, as I follow this, I'm going to use Char's word, as I follow this call that I feel compelled to lead, I'm going to be faced with all kinds of things, big decisions, hard moments, great moments, and I need some fuel, right, to keep going through those things. And there's only so much the human body can take, which is why we nourish our body. And there's only so much the human mind can do and can take, which is why we nourish and feed our mind with the right thoughts. But our spirit is actually limitless. So I want to just take us through a really quick meditation to see if I can help you give an experience of that listening zone and as an energy source. So I invite you to right now just to softly just close your eyes. Or if you're not an eye closer, then just soften your eyes. And just let your breath be nice and easy, just as you'd normally breathe. And I invite you to find a place where you are easy. For some of you, that might be the beach. Some of you, it might be on your horse. But things are easy. Your breath is easy. Your thoughts are easy. Everything is so simple. It's a place where you feel timeless. So if you found that place, I invite you now to really be there. Let your senses notice. What do you hear? What do you see? What do you feel? And in this place where you are timeless and your senses are doing the listening for you, I want you to notice the sun. And feel that sun pouring into you. And even with your eyes closed, you can feel that sun pouring into you. And even with your eyes closed, you can see a ray of sun coming out of that big, beautiful circle in the sky, pouring right into you. And with your eyes closed, as you see that ray of sun, I want you to follow it. Follow that ray of sun. Let it pull you closer. And as you are in that ray, you look down into the ray and you notice there's a plug, like an extension cord or like a rope. And you pick it up, you hold it in your hand, and you let your eyes follow that plug all the way to the sun. And in that moment, you remember, yes, this is here for me all the time. I need only plug it in. So as you hold on to that plug, the end of it with the 3 little ends, or maybe your end looks different, I want you to just scan your body and go, oh, where do I plug this into me? Where do I receive that energy? Is it at my heart? Do I plug into my heart to receive? Do I plug into the back of my head or the top of my crown to receive? Do I plug into my perineum energy source to receive? And wherever feels right for you, I want you to take that plug and I want you to plug it in. And let that sun pour into you. Now I want you to imagine that that sun that's pouring into you has words for you. Words for your day. For this moment. And words in that timeless space that connects you to your greater narrative, the greater words for your life. That in this moment is just what you need to hear today. Notice how you hear, what you hear, and what your message is. And when you've received that message, whatever it may be, whether you understand it or not, receive that message and say thank you. I hear you. Keep that plugged in. And as you feel ready, you can come back to the space where we're gathered today, keeping that plug plugged in that space, that timeless space where you've been inside your experience. And when you feel ready, come and open your eyes. Be with us here, still plugged in, still with that sacred space inside you.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Thank you.
So sacred listening, that's what I call it, is really following the guidance that's always there for you. And whatever that means for you, you can call it your inner wisdom, you can call it your higher self, you can call it God, you can call it the sun, you can call it none of the above. You can call it words in your mind that help you discern what to do next. But the key piece is not so much the words. That's just half of it. It's the energy that comes with it. It is the fuel of the listening. And in those moments where you might feel confused or just unsure, I invite you to go back to that sun, to that place of plugged in, and to those words that will come to you to help you. And know that your wisdom doesn't speak in sentences. Your wisdom says, go now, do this, yes, follow, stand, one word, hold, move, push, receive. And imagine if you could do that in your lowest fuel days, when maybe your body's kicked out because you're exhausted, your mind is fried. You can always come back to your spirit. You can always come back to that energy source and listen from that place. And imagine how your leadership may feel if you let yourself be fueled by the inner wisdom that's always with you.
I love that. I don't know if this is where you're going next, T, but I'd be curious if there was one or two words of what came present for people. Yeah. Okay. I'm just gonna listen. Yeah.
No, you've got it. I was gonna just ask, how was that for anyone who wants to share, and what did you hear? And then I'll close with just how to practically do this every day if it's something that speaks to you. But what did you hear? Anybody hear anything? What delight? You can put it in the chat box. Yeah. See the word delight here, Karen.
Yeah, you're welcome to unmute yourself or to use the chat box. I'll just kick it off. I always hear things in threes, and typically I also hear things that start with the same letter. I don't know what that word is, but so this morning I heard be bold, be brave, and breathe. I always hear things in threes. Those are my mantras, and also always, yeah, that same letter usually starts it off.
Beautiful. I love how, I just want to reflect back. I love how the more we do this, the more you'll notice things like what Shar said, that she hears it in threes. She hears, alliteration. It's like we get to know how our wisdom talks to us so that we can go, oh yeah, I got this. And eventually you'll be able to drive your car and like dial in and go, oh, I know my voice. Right. Yeah. What else? I see ease for me. Karen says ease. Like speak truth with power. Wow. Whew. Yeah. And it's interesting, right? Because we could be pulling cards. Some of us pull cards or, reading sacred text or whatever, reading poetry, Rumi, whatever. You might go, how does this apply? Like, how does any of this apply, really? But if I look at these words, I would say, okay, great. So somebody heard so Karen heard delight or ease, or Karen says ease. Say, okay, so what is coming up for you in your calendar today where that's the message? What in your calendar or what they're like, watch for it. Something else I invite you to do is expect a divine appointment every day.
I love that.
Sometimes you're off at some networking thing or some meeting, you're like, oh, I don't even want to go here. These people make me crazy. All they do is complain, or I have this meeting with this person and I know it's going to be really tough. If you walk in there with the word that you were given in the morning and expecting a divine appointment, the divine appointment might not even be with all the words shared between, let's say Shar and I are in a big battle. I got this meeting with Shar and I go, okay, my word is ease. I'm going to listen for ease. In my experience with her in that day, something will happen. A divine appointment will happen where it might be, we're talking, but I notice the tree outside. And somehow in that noticing of the tree, I realize, wow, all I have to do is stand easily with her, really? But if we start to like navigate our listening in spaces where our mind goes, that doesn't make any sense, we will actually root in. And I might be frozen. It might be me. It might be you. I'm not sure.
You're okay so far. Yeah, you're okay.
So just use your words. Sorry, go ahead, Shar.
No, I was just going to add to that. Like, I think I like the expression, like, expect a divine appointment. Because one of my sayings is expect magic in the periphery. But like expecting a divine appointment is even more specific, and play with it. Yep. Play with it. Watch for it. Wonder when my divine appointment is going to show up today, because that's also what makes the whole point of this exercise is how do we help women leaders? How do we help each other gain more fulfillment out of life? Well, expecting a divine appointment is pretty fun and fulfilling, like just watching what shows up. And then the other thing I wanted to just quickly say to Karen was, I'm curious if your inner wisdom, like if your voice speaks to you in almost little rhymes, like ease for me is almost like it kind of goes together. So I'd watch for just short little rhymey things showing up. And I think what people, I think just understanding that your inner voice does have a voice and a rhythm, and it's not a mistake if you sort of find those patterns. So I encourage you to interesting. Christina, anything to add? Like, have you noticed a pattern or rhythm to how your inner voice speaks to you? I'm unmuting you.
Well, interestingly enough, it often comes as if I actually sit quietly and put out a question, and then it's actually fairly instantaneous. If I actually almost let go of my thinking mind, my temptation to overthink, and actually just let something come. And I think when we were doing the meditation, that's exactly what happened for me, right? Like, just let go of the thinking mind, and it was like, oh yeah. And so it was interesting to kind of, like I said, I'm delivering a workshop today, and so the very fact that, oh yeah, what I want to leave the attendees with is like the message of bring your whole self and speak truth with power, right? You know the truth, speak it with power and conviction, stand tall and tell the truth. So that's it was like, oh, okay, that becomes my why going forward into this.
Interesting. Yeah. And I want to give T time to kind of bring things to a wrap. Anybody else? I'm just curious if there's anyone. Kelly, is there a certain rhythm or pattern or that you kind of notice that it's a higher level chatting with you rather than just the brain waves kicking in?
Mine come in, it's not necessarily words, but it's almost that awareness. And all of a sudden there's this thing here, and it's something here, and then it's something here. And then I'm like, oh, okay. Right. And it's that tuning in. It's never just it might be a single word all of a sudden, but I don't recognize it on the first go. But I can see that manifestation, that just that message coming in different realms, right? And being aware to it.
Cool. Well, T, what next? What is next?
I wanted to just acknowledge, Kelly, when you said that moment of, oh, okay, or oh, like that. I love that. That's such a great noticing of how it lands, like when it lands for you. And I think our work, if you will, which I use that word lightly, but I mean more like workout, our workout, is to shorten the gap between where what we hear and our, oh, okay, right? Because I heard you say, and I heard you say as well, Christina, that sometimes you miss it or it comes later or what have you. Because what I believe is that we're on this call for a reason. We're all called, every single one of us called to lead in some capacity. And our ability to live in the power of that call is a practice. Like every time you get up to speak, you can do this. You close the gap, and whatever image you use, whether it's plugging in or like, for me, and I'm going to use the word prayer, which might not be your word, might be meditation, might be connectivity, but prayer for me is a writing thing. And it's what I do to shorten the gap in my day. So I have a practice, and my invitation to you is to really sort out what is your practice of that gap shortening. Mine is, I will say, dear God, or sometimes I'll talk to my body if my body hurts. I'm like, dear body, right? Dear energy, what would you have me know? That's the question I write. What would you have me know? What are your instructions today? What do I need to give to this group today? And then I just breathe. I connect back to that sun image and I respond slowly because we need to give time to hear. And usually you'll find actually that kind of writing takes no more than 2 minutes. Like, that's it. Like, God, universe, source, whatever, doesn't need to give you a book to get it. Like, receive. And then I read it back to me as if I'd written a letter to myself. It's like, oh, look what I needed to hear today. And I read it back to myself. I don't know what your practice of listening is going to be, but I encourage you in your daily routine, just as you make time to breathe and sweat, just as you make time to go through your calendar, that you make time to listen to the wisdom you already have, and make time to practice the following of that wisdom to guide the leadership that you are created to do and be, and live it out fully. Life and leadership gets so much easier. There's less hesitations, less stickiness when we finally succumb to following the wisdom we came into the world with and are always connected to. Shorten the gap, shorten the gap, shorten the gap. Develop a practice. Mine is writing. Yours might be meditation or running or whatever.
I love that. So just some key takeaways that I heard T say is, expect the divine magic every day. Create a practice that works for you to shorten the gap. Make leading easier for yourself by making time to listen. I wanted to thank you, T. So much gold today, so much gold. I wanted to also tie it back just quickly. We're at 8:30. I wanted to tie it back to the greatness grid. And I just wanted to say one piece about how I listen. After making a conscious commitment to work with women for 20 years, I'm on my second decade now. I know beyond a shadow of a doubt that one of the ways that I listen is by having complete faith in the women who are closest to me. So a lot of times, many of who are on this call, which is why I'm saying it, but a lot of times I listen for the universe through the conversations that I have with the women who are closest to me, because they are so aligned with me. They know where we're going, and the universe speaks through them. And so a lot of times when I am chatting with women and we're back and forth, I'm like, interesting. Okay, that's what I was meant to hear today. And it was coming through Powerhouse over here. So I think that is another important reason to build out and strengthen up your greatness grid, right? Like, that's powering it up for sure. So anyway, I just offer that because that's one of the practices that I definitely follow as well. Cool. Thank you so much for being on the call today, and I will share it in the Facebook group if you've got anything else to add that comes up for you on this particular topic, or if you'd like to reach out to Tina and you're not sure how, please connect with her on Facebook as well in our group. Okay, thanks so much, you guys. Have a really, really great day. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.